Thank you, Senator Xenophon. Senator Waters.
Thanks, Chair. Just a few brief questions. Firstly, has the Department ever asked the Bureau for expert advice on specific major projects, particularly on proposed coal seam gas projects, and whether there is any increased bushfire risk from these projects?
That's a question to the department.
Or to the BOM?
I'm
Either
not
or
aware
both?
of that, Senator, but we'll
Can you
come
speak
back.
up? I can't hear when there's other people talking.
I'm not aware that we asked the Bureau of Meteorology on advice around coal seam or coal or mining projects. Well, I'll come back, but I'm not aware of any requests to the Bureau on that matter.
Okay. Has the Bureau of its own volition advised the department on the bushfire risks of flaring CSG wells as they do in the pre-production stage? I mean, it's obviously a clear bushfire risk.
No, I'm not aware of that.
Is this on anybody's radar?
I think the issues of flaring risk, and I'll come back, Dean might come up, Mr Knudsen will come up, but those sorts of issues would be dealt with as part of the safety and the general conditions around a project. But,
Yeah, if you can shed some light, please.
Exactly correct. So the only way that we would be taking a look at flaring would be if it's connected directly to an impact on a matter of national environmental significance. The more general provisions with respect to noise, air quality, et cetera, are generally regulated by the states.
Okay, which is why I sort of directed the questions to the Bureau, given that I would have thought they keep an eye on these sorts of things. So no one, just to be absolutely clear, no one from the Bureau is looking at the increased bushfire risks from flaring coal seam gas wells?
No, I'm not aware of anything like that, Senator.
Okay, and so the new government hasn't asked for that to be looked at?
Not of the Bureau, no.
No one has in the past either?
No.
Wow. Okay, well, let's hope they change that sometime soon. Well, can you tell me more broadly what work does BOM do on bushfire mapping or planning or projections?
Sorry, Senator, could you repeat that question?
Yes, can you tell me more broadly what planning or mapping or projection work BOM does around bushfires and bushfire risk?
Thank you, Senator. The Bureau works with the Bushfire Cooperative Research Centre and agencies around Australia prior to the season, to determine areas of bushfire risk, and that would be based on our seasonal outlooks for the season coming, plus input from fire agencies in terms of the fuel loads, curing and deployment of assets. So that's a joint activity under the auspices of the Cooperative Research Centre, and that does look at risk of various areas of Australia prior to the season in terms of us getting prepared. In terms of closer to the season, we do provide briefings to most fire agencies regarding where we see conditions for fire weather which might affect particular parts of the country. We actually provide a briefing based on our knowledge of our forecasts for the season and also several days ahead, so that we do talk about fire risk in leading up to certain events, and we can do that with our numerical weather prediction models, which are achieving a lot better accuracy now. We provide that information also into the fire agencies, who use that atmospheric profiles and information to drive their fire behaviour modelling, and that is what they use for determining maps of where fires may occur and where they might run.
Okay, so you're obviously looking at the risks and the things that influence what's likely to be a high-risk area. Why are you not then looking at potential causes, such as flaring of coal seam gas wells? How is that not a relevant risk factor?
It's a good question. I mean, our role is quite clear. Our role is really to observe climate and weather parameters. We don't, for instance, systematically measure fuel loads. That's something which is done by the fire agencies. I mean, if we were to look at flaring, I suppose there would be other possible ignition sources that might fall into frame as well. We're not really fire behaviour specialists, so I just don't see how it's really relevant to our mission.
Well, who is it relevant to? Which agency should I be asking these questions to? I find it very alarming to think that nobody's looking at this. Surely someone is looking at this.
I think, Senator, it goes back down to if flaring is one of the activities that may occur in a project, and that would be subject to conditions either by the state or, if relevant, by the Commonwealth. But that they may in fact be state safety and fire issues that may be in state conditions that would go back to.
Okay, so no one federally, beyond the significant impacts on matters of NES, which we all know about, beyond that, no one's looking at federally at the increased risk of bushfires from CSG flaring.
It's determined by the authority of the Commonwealth in these matters, Senator, and on the EPBC, that authority comes as a matter of national environmental significance, which comes from heads of power. So for the Commonwealth to be involved, it has to have a head of power.
Well, for the Environment Department to be involved, yep, it's got to be an M&ES, but is there a different department? I mean, pardon me, I could genuinely be missing something here.
I think it's a state issue. Off the cuff, Senator, I think that one's a state issue.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a worry considering the state that I'm from. I might move on then. I have just a few questions about the Burrup again. And again, I'm asking these on behalf of Senator Ludlam, so just bear with me because I don't have the context that he's got about these issues. But I'm aware that there's been apparently industrial emissions that are, well, apparently threatening the Burrup, but apparently the emissions in the area are so substantial that the BOM's radar have picked them up as rainfall on clear days. Can you just talk me through, is that accurate, and can you give me a bit of context around that?
Look, we're not familiar with the circumstances of that particular case, but it isn't uncommon for radars to pick up all kinds of pollutants in the air, pollution from bushfires, for instance. I think we even pick up things from military exercises every now and again. So it's conceivable that we could have picked up something here, but I'm not familiar with those that particular case.
So it's detected and it's recorded as rain. Is that what happened?
Well, no, not really. No, it's to be specific. It's detected as something that the radar beam has reflected off. It's not necessarily rain. So we get a lot of false returns, and part of the meteorologist's job is to really discern what is rainfall and what is not.
Do your meteorologists then examine what it might be if you know it's a clear day and it's not raining, and yet the radar is picking something up?
No, we don't.
So you mentioned that there's some of those false readings that the meteorologists look at. How come they're not looking at this one?
Look, probably the only time they would ever get looked at would be in some kind of radar research project of some kind. Again, it's really not our job, I suppose, to deconvolute what all the things could be on a radar image. I mean, our job is to provide a real-time estimate of rainfall, and that's pretty well where we stop.
Okay. Does the department follow that up at all under EPBC purview, given it's a National Heritage Site?
Senator, in respect of this particular project and its approvals, there was a condition put in place which requires the company, prior to commencement of the action, to have a pretty extensive air quality monitoring system. I know that staff from my division visited the site within the last several weeks, and they've seen that the equipment exists and is in place, and the proponent is collecting what is effectively baseline data on air quality. So while the BOM may have their particular focus on weather systems, et cetera, this condition was specifically designed to deal with the question that Senator Ludlam and yourself are raising.
Can I just have one follow-up on that, Mr Knudsen? The response to the question or notice that Senator Ludlam received this morning indicates that no conditions were placed on Woodside to mitigate the potential effects on the heritage values of these emissions. So you're saying that there's air quality monitoring, but then no conditions that would protect the site if anything was detected in that monitoring. Is that right? That seems a little strange to me.
The piece that I'm familiar with, Senator, is the air quality monitoring requirements. So I would have to take that second part on notice and come back and clarify.
Yeah, if you could, because it seems odd to monitor for something, detect it, and then do nothing about it.
No, understood.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks very
Senator.
much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Senator Waters. Back to you, Senator Pratt. Do you have more questions?
Yes, just briefly. So